Hey, it's Leo. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the book palette tag. I was tagged in this by Larry Has Opinions and Jen at Remembered Reads. And this tag was originally created by Fraser Simons at Springboard Thought. Those are all great channels, so I'm going to link them down below and definitely recommend you check them out. Each week on my channel, I lift up a different nonprofit that's doing good in the world. I do this to remember that we're not alone in working for justice and trying to make the world a better place. I'll make a donation and I'll encourage you to check them out. Like, share, follow, or donate as you are inspired. The news is really hard to watch in general right now, just all the things. One of the things that really bothers me is seeing all of the harm that's being threatened with the anti-trans legislation that's being pushed forward in the US across the country, and I believe in other parts of the world as well. I know that a particular author uses her platform to push a lot of anti-trans legislation as well in the UK. And it's really disheartening that these folks are so scared or dislike us so much that they are working to actively cause harm. You know, take kids out of their homes, charge parents, charge medical professionals with felonies for providing care that is approved by Pediatrics Association and the American Medical Association. There is no support scientifically for all of the fear tactics that the anti-trans community is using to try to just really cause harm to these kids. And it's hard for myself as a trans adult. Like, I know that right now I feel that I'm in a place where those bills won't harm me, but again, I think it's dangerous if any of us start to think that we're not impacted by the injustice. I think it's really important that we raise our voices on behalf of trans youth, on behalf of immigrants of color, on behalf of all of these groups that we may or may not be a part of, but that while those injustices persist, it impacts the entire community, and we need to be there for each other. Sorry for the ramble. I don't know how to articulate how upsetting it is to see people's basic humanity disregarded in so many ways. On that note, this week, I would like to lift up Lambda Legal. I'm going to link an Instagram post that includes some graphics that show anti-trans legislation that's currently moving through the US. They also have an article that I will include in the description where they describe the actions of the Texas governor against the trans youth, particularly a heinous bill that Idaho's even trying to top. Basically, the governor of Texas ordered the child services to investigate the parents of trans youth for child abuse if they provided medical care that's approved by the AMA and the Pediatrics Association and the Psychiatric Association to their youth. That is life-saving and affirming. It's incredibly upsetting. So the ACLU Texas and Lambda Legal have filed a 68-page lawsuit against Texas. So on February 11th, a judge did issue a temporary injunction against the Department of Family and Protective Services from investigating the parents of trans children for child abuse. And then the case that the ACLU and Lambda Legal has filed against the state set a trial date for July 11th. So I definitely want to support the ACLU and Lambda Legal for doing this incredibly important legal work. This week I'm lifting up Lambda Legal. You may not have heard of them. They were formed in 1973, and it's the oldest and largest national legal organization whose mission is to achieve full recognition of the civil rights of lesbians, gay men, bisexuals, transgender people, and everyone living with HIV through impact legislation, education, and policy work. As a 501c3 nonprofit, they don't charge their clients for legal representation or advocacy, and they don't receive government funding, and they depend on contributions. So I'm definitely going to make a donation this week, and I'll put all of these links in the description box below, and I encourage you to check them out. And thank you for all of the ways that you are advocating for trans youth in your locales, even just by being a safe person, caring adult. It all matters, so thank you. Okay, now onto the tag. And so for this book tag, I'm going to tag 3 people, 2 of whom are Rosica, the Midnight Reader, and Jay at My Quarter Life Crisis. And last night I was laughing so hard watching their Buddy Read TBR videos. So they got together on a Zoom call and filmed a lot of footage. And then basically they each picked 6 books for the other to read in the month of March. And Jay had done this previously with Camilla. It was also fabulous. Camilla at Hasty Books. And so this is her turn of doing it with Rosica at the Midnight Reader. And those videos were great. The channels both have really great channels, so I definitely recommend you check them out, and I'm tagging them in this video. And I'm also tagging Bethan Bruninga-Sokolar, who co-hosted the Black AuthorTuber Readathon, and she also just recently posted a video where she did an unboxing. She found a video from Effie at What Effie Reads, who had subscribed to a queer book box. Looks like it's based out of the UK, but Bethan in the US was able to subscribe and unboxed her first queer book box subscription. So I will link her video of doing that down below, and I encourage you to check her out. And Bethan, I'm tagging you as well in this book palette tag. Okay, now on to the questions. Question 1. Sweet. What is a book that made you excited to read more by that author? So I have 2. The first is my favorite book of 2021, and this is A Master of Jinn by P. Djèlí Clark. I'll also link to Shannon's video at That's So Poe, who gives a great description of who P. Djèlí Clark is, what are the different things that he's written, some links to interviews with him, a really great deep dive into this really fabulous author. So I also highly recommend A Master of Jinn. It's an alternate history in 1912 Cairo with steampunk elements and jinn. Really great characters, sapphic element, feminist lens. Definitely recommend you check it out. It's a murder mystery, a fantasy murder mystery. The second book that definitely makes me want to read more by this author is Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki, which is currently my favorite of 2022. This is a novel written by an Asian American trans woman who has a trans teen character who's a violin prodigy. There's also 2 other women that are tracked in this story. One is a alien who is disguised as a human running a donut shop, and the other is a violin teacher who has sold her soul to the devil and needs to make a deal to have other violin students sell their souls in order to break her contract. This is a really great story of finding your voice and finding found family and love and hope and magic and music, and the characters in this one as well are just really great. So for both A Master of Jinn and Light from Uncommon Stars, these match the palette for Sweet, because I definitely want to read more by these authors. Number 2, Sour. What book did you initially dislike, but after a reread you've reversed your opinion on? Or what is a book that you loved at one time, but after rereading it have found it lacking in some way? Okay, I'm going to slightly alter this because I didn't reread these books, and I don't know that I will, but these are 2 books that I read last year that I didn't get on with, but then you, BookTube, have maybe changed my opinion about them, or I'm at least waffling a little bit more. Camera angle adjustment. The first book is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I found the characters unlikable, and I wasn't rooting for them, and there was some kind of anti-trans, anti-femme language from the characters that annoyed me, and I couldn't get over, and I didn't like being in that character's world. And I mean, part of that was the point, right? Because it's a story about what happens when we repress our sexual orientation and our true identity. Of course, that's not always going to go well. So I almost DNF'd this book. I definitely see the merits of it, but I struggled with it. But then I'm going to link this down below. Nell at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot gave a really great review that was able to just dive deeper into some of the themes of the book, which made me kind of second guess myself on my initial take on the book. So I'll link her video down below. The second book that I'm going to use for this prompt is Detransition Baby by Torrey Peters. I really struggled with the toxic masculinity and the representation of femininity defined in contrast to that. And I just really didn't get on with it as well as most of the world. I always want to say this, I definitely support Torrey Peters, but I didn't enjoy the book. There were reviews where folks kind of saw things similar to me, just, connecting on our dislike of the unlikable characters or of the kind of take on femininity and womanhood. But then Bob the Bookerer gave a review that I'll link down below that made me kind of rethink it as well. As with many books, he adored it. And I quote, he was gobsmacked by how Torrey Peters pulled it off. He really appreciated being able to be in the interior lives of the trans characters, the dark humor, that kind of a gallows humor when you've kind of been through the worst and all you have left to do is laugh. He appreciated that the book explored identity and transness and queerness and family and motherhood and those themes, as well as being humorous. So both the serious and the humorous. I like to joke that Bob the Booker is my booktube nemesis. We definitely disagreed on The Sea, and we did disagree on Detransition Baby, though I am including the book in this prompt because he does challenge my way of reading the book and give me pause to reconsider. It's going to be really interesting too because he and I are going to buddy read Daryl by Jackie S. And so will the nemesisness, nemesism, will we agree or disagree? Will we see eye to eye on this book? So that remains to be seen, but I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you, Bob, for that and for your insight on lots of books. If y'all haven't checked out and subscribed to both Gunpowder Fiction and Plot and Bob the Bookerer, you definitely should. Okay, number 3, Bitter. What is a book that you feel is underrated, attacked unjustly by popular opinion or mainstream opinion, or simply misunderstood in some way? I'm going to answer this with an underrated book that I didn't see much on BookTube, even though I saw, like a lot of Detransition Baby everywhere, but I didn't see this one. So I'm going to answer with Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars, a Dangerous Trans Girl's Confabulous Memoir by Kai-Cheng Tom. I had rated this one 4.5 stars back in August, I believe. This is a coming-of-age memoir for a trans girl, but it's very much cast in the light of fantasy elements. It deals with some serious topics as well, including violence against trans women, inaction by police, poverty, sex work, etc. But I really appreciated how it's about sisterhood and strength and fighting back. Beautifully written, thought-provoking. It's a short story, but it's really powerful, and I think it's underrated. So love to know if you've checked this one out yet. Okay, number 4, Salty. What is a book that changed how you thought about or related to other people, or that made you realize something about yourself you were not aware of previously? For this, I'm going to pull out one of the books from my theological studies. That is God of the Oppressed by James H. Cone. This was written in 1975, so I could use it as one of my answers in the birth year book tag if I do that one. He asks the question, what has the gospel to do with the oppressed of the land and their struggle for liberation? He looks at scripture and tradition to talk about Jesus, but then he says you also have to look at the history and culture of oppressed peoples. So this book was just really foundational for me in my own theological development. I came across this book in my studies at school when I was really wrestling with what do we do with faith in the midst of suffering and oppression, and I think really helped me to start thinking about how I frame my faith in terms of God yearning for liberation, standing in solidarity with those who are oppressed. I think really helped frame my faith going forward. So not to get too churchy on you, but anyway, this book answers that question. Okay, now we've got some optional prompts. Prompt 5A, Sophisticated Palette. Choose a book from your favorite subgenre or that has your favorite trope or motif. Or just go off regarding a bookish nerdy thing you like or enjoy. One of my favorite are the buddies that are like brothers. They're experts in what they do. They look out for the little guy. They're clever. They're fun to watch. For this, my answer is Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan and the characters Royce Melbourne, who's a skilled thief, and his mercenary partner, Hadrian Blackwater. And so I've only read book 1 of that series, but I really enjoyed that relationship. Definitely looking for more of books that have that trope. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. I'd love to know. Question 5B, Unrefined Palette. What is a book or genre that you consider a guilty pleasure, though you shouldn't feel actually guilty about reading anything really, but hopefully you know what I mean? I agree with Fraser Simons. There isn't a guilty pleasure where you need to feel guilty about reading. I think I'll answer this one. Just what comes to mind is reading middle grade, just because I find it so comforting. It's definitely, comfort read and also really enjoyable. I just read one that I'll talk about more in my what month are we? March wrap up. And that is Healer of the Water Monster by Brian Young. It's a debut book by a Navajo author about a young kid who has to face some challenges, including meeting some holy beings and dealing with issues in his own family. It also has some climate pieces in it. For example, his mom is a journalist documenting the pipeline protests. Again, no need to feel guilty about reading, so I'm kind of more interpreting this, I guess, as a comfort read. Definitely recommend this book, and I hope you check it out. Next question, eclectic palette. What are the top 3 genres you typically read or gravitate towards? And I would say theology, history, mystery, and fantasy. And yes, that's 4, but it said 3+, so there you go. And question 5D, maturing palette. What is a genre you've read little or none of but would like to sample more? What book, if any, prompted this? And I think maybe poetry. I haven't read a lot of poetry. I do love some poems. I had to order Amanda Gorman's The Hill We Climb. She read the poem that she had written for the inauguration. Her delivery was so powerful. The words incredible. So I also then caved and got her book of poems, Call Us What We Carry. It's not a genre that I've read a lot in, but I definitely, let's see, how did the question say it? Would like to sample more of? Yes, this is a genre I'd like to sample more of, and I think Amanda Gorman would be a good one to sample that with. Well, that's all the questions. This was a really fun tag. Thank you for watching. I would love it if you gave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. That means a lot. And let's continue the conversation in the comments below. Have you read any of these books, or what would be some of your answers to these questions? Also, if you haven't done this tag and you'd like to do so, please consider yourself tagged. I hope you take care of yourself and remember that you are awesome. And I appreciate you so much. And until next time, happy reading.